Expected to make it, so
Logical Raptors fanatic.
shoot trying to miss. Like every shot
Logical Raptors fanatic.
trying to make it, so I was gonna act surprised.
A fun guy. Obviously
Logical Raptors fanatic.
love the game of basketball. I mean, it's just more questions you have to ask me in order for me to tell you about.
Logical Raptors fanatic.
I just can't give you a whole spiel. I don't even know where you're sitting at.
No
Project Truth.
has contacted me, and I see all the stuff that, like, you guys see. I dream like they dream. Yeah, you know. Yeah, so they keep dreaming. I dream too.
Salute, real ones. Project Truth always. Mike G back here with Logical Raptors fanatic. I think we have an interesting one today. Really, one of the ideas I had for the channel, maybe going over certain open gym like episodes and expanding on what they say, because it is the theory of what happens behind the scenes is shaped in a large part by open gym, and I would say it's like a raw source for some of the info for a lot of the things that I understand Masai's talking about, because they show them in open gym. You just have to kind of connect the pieces and understand what's being talked about at certain times and what connects to what and what doesn't connect to what. So we're gonna like go through some of the more juicy things in the episode and talk and expand on them and maybe connect them to some of the previous videos we were talking about. So this will be like kind of like a multifaceted episode where we talk on a bunch of different things like mold stuff, bench stuff, just even NBA mindsets in general, right? So we're going to go over it all. It's going to be a good one. Let's dive deeper. Enjoy. So before we get to the first clip, I'm just going to lay out, I guess, the thumbnail a little bit. Raptors Open Gym reviewed. So this, like, deed, I do that sometimes. Like, it means, like, present and past. I'm just playing with something. Sorry, I didn't mean to make it so confusing, but season 11, episode 7, No Days Off. And this is a day where the Raptors have an optional practice where it's called an optional shoot, where guys come in, get their shots up, normal stuff, right? But then there are other things that are happening, and these are the days that the guys that aren't getting minutes have an opportunity to really cement their name into looking when Nick starts looking down the bench and looking for guys during games when things aren't working out and he knows certain guys are ready to do certain things. These are the days that they prove it. And we're going to go through it a bit. I know a lot of the stuff I've been talking about on this channel up to date has been more theoretical, but we are going to see some more actual, like, taking all this theoretical stuff, all this great stuff and idea, and look at it at a practical level, how it's being implemented with some of the behind the scenes stuff and interpreting what's going on in this episode. And I think it has a bunch of truth bombs coming. So strap back and we'll get into the first clip.
But shooting is obviously one of the most important aspects of developing players. So we try to spend as much time as we can on it. It's important that as coaches we create the environment for them to continue to work on their craft.
Well, obviously shooting is a big component to today's game, and they did go over how optional shoots are becoming more popular and popular through the season. But I think ultimately it's not just about getting shots up, it's how you get shots up and creating that proper environment where Pascal's talking and saying, "Oh, I can call Rico any time of the night, 1 o'clock in the morning, and he's there in the gym. Jimmy's there in the gym." All these guys that really care about making this environment the best because they understand with a correct environment, you're able to get better development results. So this is kind of the method behind the madness. We're looking at the best versions of everything to kind of make little increases everywhere that sum up to a big increase from the things that we've been doing and the system that we have in place. And it's been shown to work with other players. And sometimes, yes, players fail and they succeed, and it's based on certain things that we don't technically fully understand because a lot of the stuff is behind the scenes. But this is a great way to really lock in on what the Raptors are actually doing. And I know this is kind of the best side of things and what they want to show and what they don't want to show secrets wise, but we can interpret and infer different things from the consistency of the message. I've heard these actually same exact things in this episode since Messiah's come, in a sense. We've seen these things, and it's slowly over time you piece the whole story together by seeing pieces at random times and then remembering and putting them together properly and understanding the logic connections and the logic puzzle that this whole one big thing is. So let's continue on.
Coach Stan leads it. We all kind of just follow. We have a plan of what we're trying to do and as a coaching staff, and we just try to help each other out and get the guys motivated and keep them going. And we have a specific game plan that we're trying to accomplish every day. That we have optional shooting, and Coach Stan runs it all, and he does an amazing job of doing it.
So we heard there Rico talking about how it's a team effort and it's usually orchestrated by one guy, right? And they're all have missions that they're doing that day. And I think these are the things that we talk about on this channel, like growing this skill or developing that skill. And we're going to see more of it in this episode, but it is really the coaching staff is a collective. It's like a collective brain trust with the Raptors. And if one coach sees something, they might tell another coach looks at it, sees it, and then coaches are talking about it. And that's how you move up and get minutes with Nick because he's hearing the buzz from different coaches that, oh, this guy's doing this and that guy's doing that. And you know what I mean? And it's this, we'll get into it more, but just keep in mind that the coaches are evaluators too. They're not just like Nick's minions in a sense. Everyone's collective and they have a voice within the coaching staff and they have their specific areas, but then they're also a generalized coach and used all around because that's how you develop people by using the skills that they're great at, but also the skills that need work. And it's a continuing process of working on weaknesses to become strengths. And these are the days that the players with a lot of weaknesses start doing that process. And if they show improvement, then the minutes start coming. And we'll see more of it later because they're going to play a game and stuff. So let's continue on.
You gotta always go to optional shooting. You feel me? As a shooter and as a scorer, I always gotta stay on top of my stuff because that's literally how I survive off jump shots. So, you know, I'm not blessed like Siakam. I can just run in the hole, spin, hit a dip, lay over top of people, or you know that type of stuff. So I gotta work on a lot of stuff. So it was good to come in here with Precious and Coloco yesterday, and it was cool.
So that was a nice bit from Gary. It's nice to see that kind of side of Gary, a little bit more lighter and less serious than he is in like formal media stuff, but interesting what he was saying there where he's relied on for his shooting at the moment. He's not like Pascal where Pascal has been through all the stuff that he's going through now and has developed a whole bunch of stuff where he can do a whole bunch of different things, and necessarily it's about him as a whole player and not just his shooting, where I think a big aspect of what Gary does is shoot the ball at the moment. And it's the willingness to work on it and continue to keep working on skills that do show the front office, okay, I'm going to maybe bet on this guy long term. So him continuing to show, hey, I want to learn as much as possible. I want to develop more and more and more. And it's about coming to these different things and putting a solid effort. There's going to be an interesting quote from Big Cat later, but let's get into the next clip here.
When you're your first year, when they say optional, it's mandatory for you most of the times. Other coaches, yeah, they're always here. Their willingness to make us better is really a big thing for this team.
So we heard there from Koloko, echoing some of the stuff I said just a second ago, but let's get into the extra stuff where he said the rookie year, there's really no days off. Everything, there's optional, but it's not optional. And just because we don't see Koloko on the court every night in games, he is doing a lot behind the scenes. And this is the type of stuff that really embracing that mindset and knowing the coaches are here to make me better. They're here at any time, and I need to utilize that as much as possible. And those are the guys that utilize us as much as possible, that we keep and we continue to invest in and develop and do a whole bunch of things long term. So Koloko embracing this factor that the coaches are here to make me better is really the essence of what we try to instill in the first couple of years, like the foundation, the winning foundation we talk about constantly with the house and even Koloko's kind of foundation we've talked about, but this is part of it. This is all part of it. Understanding the coach's purpose, understanding things purpose, and understanding that that's not going to change. And cultures and organizations that where that purity isn't there and you can't rely, that the coaches are always looking to make you better for you, that's where the breakdown happens. And I think that's where a lot of the issues come into play long term and keeping your players and stuff. So if we keep things pure, like I said in the Rico Hines kind of truth bomb video, and he was talking about earlier about the environment and the coaching team, the team of coaches. This is what their mission is, to just make players better. That's all they want to do. They don't want to hear all the noise of the extra crap. They just want to go to work, and they want players that want to come to work and take it seriously and actually learn from what's going on during these days. And those days and those players that grow from these days are the ones that continue with us and become Pascal-esque in a sense, right? He was like a high motor in here every day, working. You probably have to lock the gym sometimes on him because he wants to work so much, right? And that's the type of guys we want here. It's not about your initial skills when you come in. It's about how hard are you willing to work for the things you want in the NBA. And we're willing to teach you if you're willing to work. And that's kind of the relationship the Raptors have always had with our players and development-wise. And I think keeping that purity in place will continue to attract players that are truly interested in growing their game and not with the whole outside like yap fest and talking smack and all that kind of stuff, right? So let's continue on.
Coach, should get them playing.
When you are able to get 8 NBA players that want to play and want to keep their skills sharp, and you put them on the floor together and you make the teams, they're going to compete. And they did. They really competed. There were some guys that were in the rotation that wanted to get some game reps up. You know, there are other guys that are outside the rotation that want to get themselves ready to play, you know, when their number is called. So there was a different group, but the one thing that they all did was they competed extremely hard.
So we heard there Jimmy kind of setting up the goals of the game and who's in it, and there's guys looking to expand their roles that are in the rotation, some looking on the outside wanting to get in the rotation. And then there's some younger guys that are just developing out, right? So there's a mix here, and what he's saying, they competed extremely hard, and that's what matters. Getting 8 or 10 NBA guys that are in top condition during the season and having games like this can be equally as beneficial, and maybe even more so because of the focused attention from the coaches within that game to really work on different things and show what they have. And there is things that come out of this, a lot of different things that come out of this regarding evaluation and judgments and different things like that for the lower guys. This is where they, if they want to get minutes, this is where they have to play and show it, right? Against some of the outside rotation guys, the other guys looking to get into the rotation, and some of the other guys that are just hungry looking to get any experience whatsoever, right? So it's a really interesting kind of dynamic. But before we get into the game and some of the things that were said before that, I want to do something that's really important. And this clip here is the definition of the motion camera stuff I've been talking about. And some of the, well, a lot of the mold stuff that is important. And the subject of it, of the clip, is Thad showing Koloko that 10 to 0 feet range of shooting that I did outline, but I didn't specifically say this part because I didn't know if the body types were going to expand out properly. But I guess the Raptors feel good and have sensed the metrics, and it looks good. It, like, Thad's form is so good that it could expand to a bigger body with the same mechanics and the push points and different bodying strats that he does. And we're going to see Koloko in mold mode, like watching Thad like a hawk. Watch the way Koloko watches Thad here, and take keynotes at the end when he kind of looks down at his footwork, and he's really taking note of Thad's movement. So in the game that's coming up, he can use this directly, right? So this is part of it. Like, Thad's the living model. Sometimes we use past clips, and we want to try to not have to have the guy here necessarily to show the stuff. And we're working on that, translating that part. But this is a direct, like, eye to body, and what OG watched Kawhi, and where we had OG slotted in behind Kawhi after he would do his stuff, and OG would watch Kawhi do it first, and then OG would go. And it's a similar thing where we do it with different guys, where we put them to train together, right? And this is how it all kind of goes from theory to actual practice and actual, like, doing it for real, right? And learning what I'm saying the mold system's about, because this is a big part of what we do here, right? And I think this clip really shows exactly what I've been talking about, because I've talked on Thad and Koloko in both in mold terms. So this, and made the connection ready. So this is just me showing, like, the results of the Thad finale and extrapolating to who his form was good for and who could copy what he does in a sense of watching it, tweaking it, finding what's comfortable. And I did mention Koloko has a bunch of things to learn from Thad, and we're going to see one right now. So here's the clip.
Yes. Embrace contact. Yes, embrace it. Embrace it. Yes. Finish him off, King. That's my boy. 5 in a row. 5 in a row, Christian. 5 in a row. Time to get better, brother.
So you can see directly there some of the stuff that Thad's really good at, like that footwork, posting, and like that hook, right? So we're like making Coloco go after him, right? Directly after. And then Kem was in line there. He was also watching Thad. So it's not just like the younger guys like Coloco, the rookie, looking at this stuff and doing these different things. It's also Kem and whoever can kind of use anything from it. And we've always kind of seen that, and we like to invest in the guys that can really utilize these moments and really not just be like standing there thinking about your car or your jewelry, be like watching the guy that's been in the league for 16 years and has an excellent kind of form, and watching what he does to prepare for different shots and look at different motions that he's making with his feet and watching his body contact with Big Cat there, right? He's working the inside, and he's one of the guys, Big Cat, our inside coach, that does a lot of these different things. And he's shown success with a lot of different projects. And Precious is in this kind of mold too, where he would come in probably after Thad a bit too, you know what I mean? Like there's a whole bunch of guys that can go after Thad after he works out and kind of slowly over a season pick up quite a bit from it. It's not just one time and boom, it's in there and it's solved. It takes time. It's a process. Everything's a process. And as long as we're focusing on the right things that have shown results in other processes, in a sense, we'll continue to make gains and develop these players the proper way, because we've kind of solved some of it and we need to focus on those parts of it, right? And we're seeing Coloco is going to be a big piece for us later, but learning from Thad a bit more now and learning like different things from him is really key at the moment. And Thad is really helping with a lot of the younger bench guys, some of those guys, and we're going to hear it later. So let's get more into some of the clips and stuff.
The occasion when there's 20,000 people in the arena, but how are you when there's nobody looking? I mean, even though the coaches are there, there's really nobody besides us. And it shows them that this job is a 7-day, 24-hour gig. You have to be committed if you want to be great. The work that you put into this game is what you're going to get out. So the days when there's nobody looking, when there's no fans in the stands, I feel like that's the days that we get our most gains and our improvement. And for those guys, the ones that do come relatively don't play as much. They do play in the game, some of them, and some of them don't get to play in the game at all. So it's a good way to keep their timing, their conditioning, and keep their confidence going. So when we do call on them, they're ready to go.
So there's a truth bomb from Big Cat. He's talking about like, yeah, you might play hard when there's 20,000 people in the stands, but do you actually care about getting things right and improving when no one's there? Do you only work hard when you think you're being judged? Or do you work hard because you want to actually get better? There's a difference in things. And Big Cat's saying if you want to be truly great, the NBA game and the game of basketball is only as much hard work as you put into it, you'll get out of it, right? And these are the guys, these are the Raptors guys. And we don't know who's like this in the league, right? We can speculate, but we don't know. And I think this is the key point on whether a guy's a Raptors guy or not a Raptors guy, and whether someone Masai would be interested or someone that Masai has no interest in even going near. So we don't know who these guys are that really take getting better seriously. And Thad's one of those guys that does take getting better seriously. He has his whole career against all odds pretty much. He's improved his game against what the mindset has been on certain teams and what their projects have been. And he's been around a lot of different teams and knows the kind of older group that have mentored the younger guys into the league and knows a lot of their thinking, thoughts, and a lot of different things. It's not just like Scotty knows the guys he played years and years and years against that are in his age, right? So when they become main staples in the league, he's gonna know the main stars inside and out. Van Vliet's grown up with a certain like level of people, right? And Spicy's played against a certain level of people, right? And he knows the league right now, so he's played against these guys for years and years and has seen their games evolve and knows what their true weaknesses are and what they've improved at, but maybe slight on different things. And he knows the league now, so it's also like a growing thing. And Thad does have a lot of knowledge from even before just now. And Lex was mentioning it earlier on his stream today that he knows about Iverson and all these older guys because he's been around the league since Kevin Durant was drafted in '07, right? And we went through it. We went through it. So this is part of what makes a guy a Raptors guy. And he boiled it down to pretty much the essence of what we're looking for in different guys. So let's continue on.
That is killing. To be able to come in and bang and bump a little bit, you know, on the court, but also get a chance to, you know, pick each other's brain, get a chance to go over some defensive stuff, get a chance to get that competitive nature and the competitive juices going. It was really good yesterday because we were able to play a 7-game series and get after each other and, you know, just make sure that, you know, we're staying in sync with what the game brings to us.
So here we hear Thad talking about his role, but this is like off-court stuff. We're looking at a guy that could be there on these days and manage this kind of stuff and talk to guys and be there because we're leaning heavy on our young core at the moment and they don't have the extra kind of energy to be at these practices doing this stuff, playing heavy minutes, right? So Thad was brought in to support those guys and continue messages and kind of be that stern guy for the bench and be that kind of guy. He can talk a certain way to certain guys, right? He's above certain guys in the pecking order. Like he can't come at like Pascal or Van Vliet sideways in a sense, or like Otto or someone like older like that. You know what I mean? He's more communicative, and he understands that both of them understand that this is about winning, and there's less in between that needs to be talked about. But Thad uses these opportunities when he's playing against guys to talk with them and chat them up, and Rico does the same. There were some clips of him playing some point guard, Rico Hines, actually in the Rico Hines run format, doing some runs. And we've been doing this kind of for years, but now we have the guy, the architect, and the guy running it. So we have Rico Hines runs all year now. And this is kind of where Thad comes in and does a lot of the different things that we brought him here for. And these are actually the hard hat days for Thad in a sense of when he gets a lot of the work done. Like we said, we heard Big Cat talking about it earlier, where these are the days where you make the most gains. And these are the days that like can really make or break your career in a sense of how much real work are you getting in? How much things are you watching? How much things are you getting, like trying to, like going to uncomfortable places to make it more comfortable later and different things like that, right? So let's continue on and see what he has to say at the end of like the Rico circle and stuff. It's going to be interesting.
Anytime you have a chance to have a good practice like that with the guys who aren't playing gives us the opportunity to get better as a unit, because that second unit is sometimes vital to the team. Obviously, the starters are going to do what they do, but we're heavily relied upon in order to come in and make sure that the guys are getting appropriate breaks and appropriate time to rest and get back in and take us home, you know, for the end of the games. Throughout the course of games, we have to be ready at all costs. You know, I told the guys we have a first-class seat to what not to do on the court because we get so much time to watch.
See, this is the clear attitude that needs to happen behind the scenes. Thad is taking responsibility of the bench unit and trying to get that group up and going. And obviously that's been a different battle altogether with the injuries because you need guys in these practices. So like they have to be healthy first of all to get into these games where they can kind of work on defensive schemes, all this kind of different stuff, right? And if they improve, coaches are watching, they talk about it, and then this comes up and percolates later, right? But I want to continue back on Thad is giving the pureness of what happens with the bench and what whose responsibility it truly is. It's not Nick's responsibility to get the minutes. It's their responsibility to earn minutes by playing so well. He can't say no to not playing them in a sense. It's like this mindset of like looking at yourself before blaming others, and you'll get better based on just having that good mindset of I need to be focusing on what we're doing as a bench unit and really getting on top of things because the bench role is key. Thad laid out why it's very key and why these guys need to really continue to put in the work behind the scenes for when they're called because the starters need them. And that's how this was all based on, right? And I think there's a certain bar that is set and we want, and we make guys earn it. And in the past, that has really worked out to developing guys fully over time, making the minutes more like it's weird if you just give someone something they don't value it. Like if a guy's born in money, he values money less than someone that was born poor and had to earn everything differently, right? So if you have to earn the minutes instead of just given to them because you're a first round pick and you should have minutes because that's the way things are. No, like we've tried that. We tried that for years and years and years. Masai was brought here to do something different, not to tank and lose, and actually really actually develop and not faux develop like we were doing before, where we would tank for a bunch of years and then try to ramp up and get what? A playoff run, a first round thump out. That's the old way. There's a new fashion way of developing, and Masai's got his finger on that process, and we need to trust that he's going to continue in the best ways that help us later on towards one goal, the chip, winning here, right? So let's continue on, and let's hear his speech to the guys and stuff, right?
Be on the balls of your feet, be ready to guard a person. Take it personal, not let nobody just bust your ass. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, man. Take it personal.
Hey, one thing about this shit, man, as us being the guys that's on the bench, we got the best view of what not to do. You see what I'm saying? We got the best view of what not to do, especially on the defensive side of the basketball. We just watched Milwaukee tee up 43s off catch and shoots and jabs. You see what I'm saying? Coming down in transition. Like, we should know what not to do because we know this game right now is all about that can shoot threes. So why not make them play in the yard? Long contested twos don't beat us. Threes and layups beats us. Offensive rebounds beats us. Second chance opportunities beats us. But when we in the yard, outside that paint, slightly inside the three-point line, them shots a little bit harder than you think. Percentages go down. So we got to take advantage of that. Get them off the three-point line, make them take long contested twos. We'll live with that all day.
Good job, guys. Come on, let's work on it, everybody. All of us. We work on it together, baby. Come on, let's work on it together. Here we go. Come on, girl. Let's work on it together. Now.
So obviously there it was the famous kind of after the practice Rico or the runs or in between the runs, Rico has a circle where kind of he talks, some of the coaches talk, And like some of the vets talk and have something to drop, like the truth bomb circle, like it's the truth circle, right? And if you step in it, you're trying to be 100% truthful and focusing on the growth from that truth, right? So what Thad was really saying is dead on about our team at the moment, where if we let guys get easy layups or threes, that's how they beat us. But if we force them to take tough twos, the percentages go down for them and we gain an advantage from that. So we're focusing on some of the defensive stuff that he was talking about, but then also saying with us sitting on the bench, we get a first class seat of what the defense needs to be doing, because it's hard when you're in game to kind of watch everything as it's going on, right? You're watching your role, you have a bunch of different things that you have to go over, but a spectator can kind of draw back to different things and look at the whole unit as a whole, or just one player specifically on certain plays and different things. So it's that's why like kind of some of the bench guys don't get a lot of rope, because they should know what's going on with the game, because they should be watching and caring and learning as they're watching, and they should be in mode to really just make an impact right away. And Thad is kind of getting them into that great mindset to help them increase their value. Even if you're a bench guy, you can be watching the game, and when the coach calls your number, knowing exactly what you need to be doing is a good thing and can kind of lead to more minutes, right? So he's trying to help these younger guys with some great logical basketball IQ sense, real stuff. Not blame the coach for minutes. Looking at these opportunities you have the best seat in the house to watch the issues that are going on in the game, and you have an ability to get in there and do something about it when your number is called. And you should always be on point watching the game, as well as always working on your skills and stuff. And he's a great kind of veteran, positive leader, not being negative like about the messaging. It's just saying like we should know what we should know, right? And not saying, oh, you guys don't do this, you don't do that. It's not about that. It's about talking about the ways you can improve and the things you can actually change, and not the things you can't, right? So let's continue on, right?
Got a good group like we have, man. All of our guys are hard workers, so it doesn't take much to get them going and get them working hard. They got a little bit chippy today, but it's all in good fun, and I think guys got a little bit better today.
We didn't play the back-to-back at all, so I knew the coach was going to make us play. But I didn't know it was going to be that intense. To get us better, he make us work on our stamina, and game situation, so it was really good.
A practice like today, I love it, guys are just, competing, talking smack to each other. We're just having fun. We just love to, play basketball. So anytime the coaches just roll the ball out, we pick teams and we just go and just hoop. You kind of love that opportunity.
So we heard from a couple guys that were playing in the game and what they felt about the game. And it's really interesting. We can tell from each of their own kind of places on the team and what's required of them. They find enjoyment in just playing the game with a bunch of guys that are looking at the same goals that they are, trying to get better, trying to work better as a team, and like playing basketball the real way, the right way. I think these guys slowly shape your culture, right? It's not just about the highest guy at the top, but it's also having these guys everywhere that have these kind of pure mindsets about the work that's involved in being a pro, and understanding it's not like a punishment that you have to play hard in this. It's about the opportunity to really play the game you love and get better and earn more money for your family and everything that entails with the love of the game. And having that pure environment really helps these guys really mold into really great players later that we can lean on to be the examples for the next generation, right? So it's all like a process that gives back to itself eventually. But this part is really important for some of our younger guys to really get in a lot of work at this level to really become those great players later on, right? There's a window we like to look at where we like to just do as much development as possible, and then we kind of refine the best qualities about your game and stuff. It's a bigger process. We know we've talked about it in mold stuff and stuff, right? But let's hear Jimmy's kind of explanation on development, which I find is really insightful and right to the point, right?
And that was a situation on that day in particular, we could work on defensive situations, on our switching, on whatever we were in defensively. We were able to get some really live game reps doing those. There's always scuttlebutt that comes out of those. Coaches talk to each other. It kind of trickles its way around the organization, and you know, so it's very much a positive when they perform well in those situations. And it's, you know, for us, for coaches, it's an opportunity to teach sort of a slower, more, you know, methodical pace than a real practice would be. You can really break things down. You can set up, you know, what you're trying to get accomplished.
Precious.
So there you hear Jimmy expand on the thoughts and the positives coming from this game and how you actually earn minutes on the Raptors. And it's through these different things. He calls it like scuttlebutt, which is weird, but it's about the coaches talking, and that gets back to Nick and Masai and Bobby, and gets through all the people that care. We care about our team growing. We want to see players grow, and when they grow and do better, everyone's listening and open ears about those type of things. And those are the type of conversations we're having during the day with each other in the front office. Well, not me personally, but like us as Raptors, and I'm talking in the sense of I'm with the Raptors in the mindset of what they have towards it, right? So I think he just really encapsulated a lot of the ideas that we were really talking about throughout this whole episode. But let's continue on. There's some more truth bombs left in this video, right?
To me, it's all about who are your gym rats? Who are the guys that are hungry to succeed? Who are the guys that want to get better? Who are the guys that are going to pay the price, the sweat equity? Great thing about this sport is it exposes you. And you find out a lot of times what, not only you know what you can do, but more importantly, what you can't do, and how can you improve that? And also, how can you hone and even get a little better at the things you are very good at?
Jack drops a couple truth bombs here and there. He's misfiring a lot at his older age, but hey, he still understands what it's about in a sense of hard work. And the game does expose you in a sense when you play the NBA game, because the way teams are so versatile and pros are so well informed and IQ level high, they can see your weaknesses and attack them easily if they're known in a sense, and it exposes you. And that fire is, well, that's what I call the fire in a sense, where you get the minutes to work and you're exposed somewhat, but you see that exposure limited over time and eventually become not an exposure, but a strength, and a strength that you can continue polish through years and years. Like Jack was saying, you still polish skills that you're really good at, but it's that exposure that we can't let them get down about, because that's the point where we learn what they really need to work on, and we set plans in place to shore up those weaknesses and create championship players by being all-around players with less weaknesses and less things that can be used against them when it really matters and the margins are so tight, right? And you have to start this stuff early, and it's about starting it year one, right? With a lot of our guys that have really done well with this kind of programming, right? So let's continue on with some more knowledge drops?
The best way to gain relationships and understand how guys play is just to play with them. How I can read off of their drives and space the floor. Those optional practices are critical for me. Just try to bring energy, play hard, and show what I can do.
I think those opportunities to be in the gym, one-on-one, or small group with coaches that, as we know here, that are great teachers, to have that opportunity to be around those people, that's special because you just never know when it clicks. You never know when there's that breakthrough.
Camp, which makes him official. He's been on an open gym, so he's now official, right? And he really came in saying, I understand Nick's system, and he does. He's explaining what his role is. The more he plays with players, he's watching their drives and spacing for them or cutting when they get trapped and stuff like that. And it's a read and react system. It's not something new. We're just doing a lot of different things within it, and we're trying to mold a lot of different styles, like on the fly style. Like the way that we have our defense switching all the time and doing different formations at any moment, we want our offense to be sort of similar in the ways that like Golden State kind of does it, where they do something like that, where they always kind of switch up plays. And it's not like it's more fluid in the decisions that Draymond and Clay and Curry make in their passing game and how plays are set up. They have a lot of options that they can pick from, and the team is ready to play off all those options when they see them and stuff. And that's where we're bringing guys in to see if they can really kind of work their way in by doing excellent at playing fit-wise, right? Fit-wise with our higher guys and seeing if there's some kind of chemistry with maybe some of our younger guys. Who knows what they're actually like completely looking at, right? We talked about it in the 10-day video and Nick touched on it and we've talked about it. But it's all about like, it's not necessarily seeing when the breakthrough happens, but it's always preparing and putting that work so one day it will happen. It's about having patience sometimes, and Messiah was preaching patience like after we got beat up by Philly last year, and there was going to be some ugliness still coming, right? Ugly and exhilarating, what he said, when we're developing and we're exposing guys, but then working to shore up those exposures when it's less on the line, right? So it's like this weird dichotomy of we're always working. Every position is always getting better. We just have to have certain talent groups and like certain guys at a really high level and a certain guys at a medium level and a certain guys that can really improve high and then some guys that aren't really improving so we can manage their money like Thad or Boucher's not probably going to get any more money in a sense, so that's a manageable contract, which I was saying. And we'll talk about a little bit about the contract stuff in housekeeping, but there's a bit more truth bombs, right? Let's go back.
It's a great teaching environment. It's a great camaraderie environment. It's something that I just really believe in. And I think all of our coaches do. Rico, we all believe in getting guys in the gym and working. I believe that for all these guys that are in there working on these off days, it's going to pay off down the road. You know, I don't know exactly when or where, but your ability to stay ready, to keep yourself ready to play, it's an NBA skill. It's not easy. It's not easy to come into a game when you haven't played necessarily, and the ball's going to hit your hands, and you have to do something with it.
And there's the catch-22. When you get the ball, you got to be able to do certain things, and we need to rely on certain things that are to be done in order to win the game in a sense, in certain roles and whatnot. And Jimmy is just one of the great guys behind the scenes that really developed Pascal and did a lot of work with him. And he knows what he's talking about when it comes to always kind of trying to stay ready and continue to just, we know it's a little bit hard not getting all the minutes in the world, but We expect you to make progress in the things that you can control and do, and the things that we are working behind the scenes. And that matters, I think, more than even the NBA minutes, because it's about rewarding the best play and keeping that winning culture and that developing culture standard high, and having a high bar for guys to come and grow into, so later on we can have real championship teams with the guys that we've developed and built over time, and we don't have to trade a bunch of them for a guy to fix one guy. You know what I mean? Like the Kawhi trade, in a sense. If we could just build the Kawhi from the start, we'd still have Pirtle, we'd still have that pick too. So, like, you know what I mean? We wouldn't be in such a tough place now. But based on our previous mistakes, kind of building up with DeMar and Valanciunas and whatnot, you know what I mean? It eventually, you pay the cost, the price, and the game exposes you, and will continue to expose you till you fix certain things. And that's where, if we see an exposure, we kind of pull back on the guy, let him work on it. You don't want to ramrod his exposure into the ground where it kind of defeats him as a player. So there's a lot of different methods and a lot of method to the madness when Open Gym opens the curtains for us to see a little bit more and more each time, but it's about piecing everything together. So I don't want to steal anyone's thunder if they're already doing like an Open Gym review thing, kind of. I just want to do it occasionally when it directly impacts some of the stuff that we're talking about. And this is obviously the first attempt at it. And now I have a very interesting housekeeping. So always want to start off housekeeping with the thanks to the real ones for the subs, the likes, the comments, just spreading all I care about is spreading the project truth and looking and spreading the facts, not just like misinterpretation of the facts and stuff like that. And Project Truth is just trying to get the record straight, because sometimes can Mandela effect within the masses of Raptors fans, and certain ideas take hold that aren't based in real logic substance. And I just wanted to kind of pin things back to what's logical and realistic and stuff. And a big part of this channel is obviously the money side of things. And it's interesting, the first kind of review of my work in the summer from just my own kind of expectations of where the team was going and what was happening with the team. I played out different contracts, and the extension series speaks for itself. But now that Aaron Rose, someone that's familiar with the Raptors team on a more official level, has kind of shown the same numbers and realized the same issue, but is now making more of an issue about it, where in the summer I kind of did my piece on it. So we have both here, both sheets, mine in to upper, so there isn't any confusion. I did mine on like the basic basketball reference kind of salary sheet. He did his on a different version. But right now we can compare some numbers, just the numbers I entered in, right? So if we look up here, Pascal, first guy that got numbers entered in. And he actually said Pascal would get a 30% max. So the numbers are very close. Cap estimations and different things. I guess the cap projection went down a little bit, so his money got scaled down a tiny fraction, and that happens because it's out next year and they're just projecting it. And when it gets closer to the year, they have more certainty on what those figures actually say. So those will fluctuate, and that's why it's key to go over these things almost like every summer in a sense. But he did call for the same kind of contract for Pascal Siakam, right? And then we go to Fred VanVleet, which he declined the player option, which I agreed he would too, right? But his number is actually about 3 million more. But I did give a little range of 28 to 30 million range, and I kind of penciled in the middle of the range, right? So that will fluctuate, but we're fairly close on years and number, right? You could see it goes out. It's not a max contract, so it doesn't change with the salary up and down. It's just a regular contract for a certain amount. And the more the cap grows, this number becomes actual less in the scheme of things. So that's where the aging of the player comes in, and knowing that the salary will increase has a slight pocket for Fred VanVleet. I don't know if he makes 31.9, but that's what Aaron Rose said. So, okay, we'll go on to the next numbers that were entered in for Gary Trent Jr. And he has Gary Trent Jr., which he already did decline his player option, which I said in the summer before he declined his player option. I think that one was straightforward. I think everyone in the world kind of knew that. But this is where the salary is, where I set a range of 25 to 23 million, and I penciled in 24 for 4 years. He has Gary Trent at 26.3 for 4 years. So he has a little bit more than my estimation, but my limit range was 25 million. So it's kind of close a bit, you know what I mean? Like in the ballpark range. And these are showing like it's about ranges in a sense. We don't know exactly what these numbers are going to be in a sense, but it's penciling in logical stuff, right? Because you understand what these players are. You understand what's happening with our system. You understand what Masai likes and signs for. So you can actually estimate correct evaluation numbers for each player if you understand the metrics behind what money says and what teams are actually paying for. It's like that Moneyball thing for it's similar like that, but it's more of like a judgment call. I can't explain like everything to a T, but my general knowledge and watching these guys for years has made me able to understand their game inside and out in a sense, and that's where I get the proper kind of valuation ranges, right? And we're going to talk about where I got it kind of wrong with OG. And you can see here, he got 17, 18, and then he actually gave him a 30% max. So same contract as Spicy P. You can see the numbers are identical. But I don't know if OG gets a 30% max, right? That's a lot of money. You see how much money that is. And we saw my breakdown at the end where we had 90 on the cap already with just Scotty and Scotty and Siakam, right? And that was already a lot of money. So adding OG at the price tag of Siakam is I don't know. I don't know how that works in the long run. We can go into luxury. Like MLSE is fairly well stocked in money and can afford to pay the best coaches and pay the best executives and do all that kind of stuff that doesn't have a cap on it, the way they've done with the Leafs for years and all that kind of stuff. But luxury is part of that too, and they'll pay into it if they feel the team is there. And if the team's there at that point, then they're going to pay into it. So I don't know. OG has another year to show what he has offensively and the defensive step that he made. And obviously my projection was in the summer before he showed these leaps. And I estimated him at the same range as Gary Trent. But obviously now this is current when Aaron Rose did his. So he gave OG a 30% max, projecting him to look more like Kawhi than what we were projecting, a 3-and-D championship guy, but not like all-star level, right? He's projecting all-star, all-NBA kind of for OG. And we'll see, right? So another number that was entered in was Scotty Barnes. So Scotty Barnes, I gave the 25% max in 2025-26, and it continues on. And he also gave him the same amount of money. Obviously, the projections kind of went down from when I did mine, but that's fine. It's still ballpark, right? Like that's what it's about, like having an idea of where everything's going, and kind of it's not going to be exactly on point to what's going to happen, but understanding the real metrics and the real situation that we're in helps inform people of what trades need to be made and what trades won't be made because it's against our situation and what's going on with the team currently. And that's where I think understanding the money helps people frame trades. And it's a big component that people overlook because the fantasy and the idea of different guys playing together is more enticing than the boring kind of this is what actually could happen and what actually works, right? So it's both a give and tug of entertainment, but we have to stay logical and baked in truth and keep things knowing where they kind of sit for real, you know what I mean? So let's go on to Precious, the last guy entered in numbers for. I gave him a similar contract to OG, the one he's on, like 17 to 18, right? You know what I mean? No player option. They get more money if they don't take a player option. So he got a little bit more, but then uh, Aaron Rose gave Precious 4 years, 15 million, which maybe he doesn't think too much on Precious. I thought this year he was going to really pop and show this 18 million value, but he still has another year to do it. So that's not out of the ballpark, but this is just a fair estimation. I feel fair. And all his things were fair other than OG, which we'll see if he can get to that height of all-star, all-NBA. That's all-NBA money right there, right? You know what I mean? Fred's not all-NBA, so he doesn't make all-NBA money, right? So like that's how things work out. And first time I can put my work up against anyone, and this was done in August, and this is done in what, the end of January 2023, so the next year after. So 5 months approximately from when I did mine to now. And you can see some things don't really change, but some things do. And it's key to kind of really know these type of things. And I did mention OG was looking at a bigger bag, something in the 30s, I thought, right? So not all NBA, but like definitely like up there with Van Vliet, right? So 30 or something like that, right? And we'll go through it in the summer again when we kind of reevaluate everyone with a proper full body of stats. Because that's key. You play a whole bunch of teams evenly, and there's a whole bunch of things about the schedule where we're aiming to do better in certain parts than others. So a full sample size is the real kind of bread and butter of what you need to evaluate this kind of stuff on. And that's essentially why I haven't brought up this year's stats yet, because I feel they're just incomplete kind of samples of people's games at this point. And we know that development and all this kind of stuff and behind the scenes stuff is really important into what guys we really want. So this trade deadline, I don't know if too much is going to happen. We'll see. Masai can shock us. You never know. He's like a ninja. Bobby and Masai are like ninja crew that just come in and get assets, and you don't even know what angle they're on at the moment till it kind of plays out years later, right? So it's interesting to see. There's a little bit of issue next year, and he thinks that Thad going is the way to solve the money, where you can see Thad makes another 8 million, and it's not actually guaranteed. So that would be an easy move to waive Thad's money off, which we'll see what happens though. We have other options, right? See, like Otto was on that player option, but then now he's definitely taking, so we pencil in 6 million for Otto, and maybe that's where that money has to come from Thad's money, and we have to take Thad off the team, and he gets 1 million. So there's a number of many solutions in a sense, and we don't know exactly what Masai and Bobby have up their sleeves, but it will play out. And last but not least, salute Raptors Freak Nation, Raptors Freak Lex, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, always talking this stuff and really like applying the stuff to the now and really talking the current stuff. If you want to hear more current stuff, that's probably a place to go in a sense. I do my things more of like a timeless fashion, but also on current things too as well. So, and maybe occasionally I'm thinking of doing like a monthly like state of the team kind of live stream. So we'll see, but I think this closes out this one. Project Truth always, Logical Raptors, Fanatic out, Mike G, Mike G.
Oh man, I love my team, man, I love my team. I would die for